If you are considering training to be a hypnotherapist or a hypnotist, you are probably considering which school to get your training from. And that's a big question. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 questions that you need to ask before you make that important decision. And let me tell you now that the final question, question number 5, is actually the number 1 question, the really most important question that you will have answered before you make that decision. So I'm Jonathan Butler, and I am a clinical hypnotherapist. I'm an RTT therapist, and I'm also founder of Help for Hypnotherapists, which exists to help hypnotherapists be successful in all aspects of their practice and their business. So let me get into those 5 questions now that you must ask before making that decision. So the first thing is, what is the reputation of the school or the schools that you are considering? What do people say about them? And there are a number of ways you can find that out. And of course, probably the most easiest, most obvious way is to look online. Look online for reviews, look online for what people are saying about the training, look online for what people are saying about the experience of working with that organization. That's really, really important. Of course, you will find a mixture of reviews because, as we know, in the online world these days, there are haters out there. So there will be people who will say bad things. So you've got to look at things in the round, in the balance, and take your own perspective on that. I'd also strongly suggest that you reach out and speak to people who've been through the training that you're considering. How do you do that? Well, first of all, you should ask the training school themselves to provide you with names of some people. Now, of course, they're likely to provide you with names of people who are really happy with what they've done, who are devotees of that particular school or particular methodology. So I really would suggest that you also look out and reach out for other people who have been through that training. If they've trained a particular methodology, you can probably, again, Google it, look in your, it could be in your area, it could be anywhere, just Google it, go on Facebook, look for people who are trained in that particular methodology. You should be able to find all of that online. And one of the great things about being a hypnotist, being a hypnotherapist, is it's a pretty, in fact, it's a very collaborative, friendly, helpful community, with a few exceptions, but very much that is the norm. So feel free to reach out to people, and most people will answer you, will come back to you, will be happy to speak to you and give you their perspective and their advice, because people who do this kind of work do it because they want to help people. So reach out and get that perspective from them. Let me be clear here, when you're looking at the reputation, it isn't just about the size of the school, because clearly there are some schools who are much bigger than others, who've got a lot of money behind them, who've got a big company behind them, a big marketing machine behind them. I've even seen recently now that Mind Valley look like they're launching hypnotherapy, hypnosis training. So again, it's a big organization with lots of reach, lots of marketing budget. So again, you're ranging from those enormous big organizations with lots of reach, who you will be seeing a lot of online, trying to influence you. And then there will be smaller, local kind of organizations, niche organizations who've maybe been going for a long time. So it's really a bit like the choice you make between working with a big company or working with a small company. There are pros and cons of both. So think about the reputation, look at the reputation. And the second question you need to consider when speaking to those schools, and I suggest you do speak to multiple schools and speak to the different types of schools to understand what level of support that you are going to get from them. Now, clearly, some courses are going to be more comprehensive, larger, and obviously there is a relationship between the price that you pay and that level of support, but that's not necessarily a totally linear relationship. Okay, but look at the level of support that they give you. So is it a one size fits all? that's trying to get you through? Is there personal support? Is it all online? Is it all in a classroom? Is it all virtual? Whatever it is, just look at that level of support that they're giving. And given how you learn, given where you're at, given your feelings about doing this, how confident you are of doing this, what feels right for you? So really, what feels right for you? Do you feel you need to be in a classroom with people? Do you feel you need one-to-one access with the person who's going to be training you? Do you need a lot of hand-holding, or are you more independent and you want to do it on your own time? All those kind of things, really think about that, okay? And it's not to say that it's bad or good, but it's about what's right for you. And again, when you're talking to people who've been through the training, ask them about the level of support. Because undoubtedly, while most people are doing hypnotherapy, hypnosis training, want to help, increasingly, for a lot of organizations doing this, business is at the forefront of this. So it is about selling as much training as they can, running as many courses as they can. What does that mean for you? Are you going to get the support that you need? That's really, really important. Question number 3 is about price. What is the cost of this course? What is the price? Now, of course, everyone has their own reality. So like most things in life, you should pay to get the best that you can get. But of course, we all have our own budgets. We all have our own realities. And while price often is an indicator of quality, it is not always an indicator of quality. And you may well be quite confused, because if you've been looking at this, if you've been researching different courses out there, you would have probably found that there are people offering to teach you hypnosis from a few £100 or a few $100 up to many thousands of dollars or pounds. So there is a big difference in those things. Okay, so obviously, if something is a few hundred, you've got to be questioning what is in it. And quite often, and this is really important, you might want to make a note of this, is if you are seeing courses that are very, very low cost, what qualifications are they giving you? What qualifications is it giving you? Is it someone just teaching you to do something, or is it somebody giving you a qualification? And I'm actually going to qualify this, because the reality is, in the world of hypnosis and hypnotherapy, there is no overarching body of regulation. There are different rules and regulations and requirements in different countries, and many individual organizations can offer certificates to give you a qualification. But what you will find when you come to practice is, to get things like insurance, most insurance companies will be looking for you to be qualified with a reputable organization, with a certification, with a qualification that they will recognize as being of sufficient quality to insure you. So you want to ask that question of the organization that you're working with, and maybe even speak to some of the insurance companies out there to see if they will recognize that. Because while it's a low risk occupation, it's a very safe thing to do, you don't want to be working without insurance. Okay, so that's really, really important if you weren't already aware of that. So again, looking at price, that is a determinant. And price isn't necessarily just an indicator of the quality of the training, but it can also reflect potentially the perceived value in the market of the qualification and the branding that you have. So for example, some of the very well-known and a celebrity therapists out there, their training is expensive, but you are likely to be able to charge more money to your clients for having that particular type of qualification, or for having trained with that person. There is a market price that is higher for that people are prepared to pay than they are for being trained by John Doe or Fred Bloggs down the road. And that's just the reality. It doesn't mean the training's any better. It just means, because of the marketing muscle they have, that there is a perception of value. But in my experience, while there is immense value in some of the more expensive, better known courses, there is there are also a number of very, very good, lower cost trainings out there. As I said before, remember, you need to make sure that they're good enough, that they're right for you, they got the right level of support. There's no hidden surprises or extras in there, because at the end of the day, you want to be coming to the end of that feeling able to move forward, having the confidence to go out there and do hypnosis sessions with people, feeling that you know what you need to know and that you've got the support behind you that you need. And you also want to know that what you're qualified in is something that's going to be recognized. Okay, now again, on that point, the thing about being recognized is you'll find that most clients are very confused about various qualifications. So who you're trained with, unless you're trained by one of the really big name people, matters less for a lot of things, but you need to make sure, as I said, for getting insurance and also for working, if you want to work in a shared space, like a well-being center, a lot of the people who run that will ask you who you trained with. They want to know that you are competent, credible, professional, and that you're supported by a solid organization. So that point is really, really successful. So price is important, but there are options along that. So point number 4 is, how does that training school, how does that person, how does that organization make you feel? Speak to different people, because what's right for somebody may not be right for somebody else. Some of you may want to work with the person who runs the school, who owns the school, who works with a small group of people. Some of you might want to be part of a bigger brand with a lot more people in the organization, where you may have little or no contact with the owner, with the person behind that organization. And obviously, if you're speaking to an organization, if you're speaking to the person who does the training, it's their company. If it's a small group of people, you'll get to speak to the people, you'll get to know the people you'll be working with. And that can be very powerful, as long as obviously that you feel good about them. How do they make you feel? Do they make you feel like they're going to understand you, help you, support you, go the extra mile to make you successful? Now, if you're working with a bigger name organization and you don't really get much access to the people at the top, or you maybe don't know the people who are going to be actually doing the training for you, you've kind of got to go on, again, the reputation of the organization, what other people say, and how the people you do speak to make you feel, because everybody in an organization is a representative of that organization. So how do other people in the organization who you speak to, maybe it's their team who do the calls, the sales team, how do they make you feel? Do you feel good about the organization? So that's really, really important. But now I'm going to come on to the most important question of them all. And that question is this: how is that school going to make you successful? How are they going to make you a successful hypnotherapist? And that doesn't just mean by training you well in a methodology to do hypnosis, to do hypnotherapy. It also means, how are they going to make you successful in making this a business, in making this a career for you, making it something that's actually going to be viable for you? And that is really, really important. And this is why I said this is the most important question, because the reality is that out of all those training schools out there, nearly all of them can give you good training, can teach you to be a good hypnotherapist, because they're going to be run by people who are good hypnotherapists, who are good at training. So nearly all of these people can teach you how to be a good therapist. There are different modalities. Some are more comprehensive than others, but the point I'm making is that almost which school you choose to run with for learning how to be a hypnotist or a hypnotherapist is probably the least important decision. The most important decision is how you get the help to turn this into a business. Because what happens with a lot of people, and it's happening more and more with more people saying, come and be a hypnotherapist, great lifestyle, make money, live on your own terms, is It sounds great. People go into the training very enthusiastic, learn these amazing skills. They get to the end of the course and expect work to just come to them. And of course, it doesn't, because you're starting a new business with a new skill. People don't know who you are. You haven't built a reputation. You haven't built an online presence that's going to bring people to you. And you're working in an incredibly competitive market, because these big schools, the likes of Mind Valley, for example, they want to sell as much training as they can. They want to get as many people on board as they can. And here's what I learned from building my own hypnotherapy practice, is that you need to spend at least as much time on building your business as you do on building your ability, your skills to be a hypnotist and a hypnotherapist. And most of the schools are not going to teach you that. And the reality of what happens with the schools is that they will probably have some marketing, some business element in the course, but it'll be a part of it. It will be an afterthought. It might even be something that they try and sell you as an extra once you've done your training. And if you are thinking of starting and building a hypnotherapy, a hypnosis business, you need to think of it in two parts. One part is doing your hypnotherapy training, getting your skills, getting your knowledge. The other part is how you're going to make a business of that. And you need to do these things in parallel. You need to start them at the same time and put as much effort into both. Otherwise, you'll get to the end of your training with no clients, with a big run-in and a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelm to make the business successful. So you need to start early on both parts. And if you ask your training school, do they include this marketing? They will undoubtedly say yes. But as I said, look into that, because quite often it's a side thing. It's an afterthought. It's something extra that they want to sell you. But also ask yourself this: is the training in marketing and building a business that they're going to give you, maybe what they learned 10, 15, 20 years ago when they were working as a hypnotherapist, a hypnotist building their business, how relevant is that? How up to date is that in today's world? Because everything has changed. The market is more competitive. The marketing is online. It is totally different. So while you need to focus upon the business, you need to make sure the people you're looking at to give you that understand what works in today's market, not what worked 10 years ago, 5 years ago, not what works for building a hypnotherapy, a hypnosis training business, because that is a totally different thing. Which is why we founded Help for Hypnotherapists, because we saw there was no real up-to-date training that was the main focus of any of the training organizations to help people be successful. So I hope you found that really, really useful. It is a great thing to do. It is a great career. You can make a great living, but you need to choose the training that feels right for you, that gives you the most. Think about those questions I've asked you. What is the reputation of the school? Ask around, look online, ask people, connect with people. People will help you. How much support are you going to get? And is that support right for you? How personalized will that be for you? What is it that you need? What do you get for the price? What do you need? What do you get for that price? And remember, are you going to be qualified in something you can actually use, that you can actually work with, as opposed to just learning a skill? That's important. How do the people you're going to work with make you feel? Do you feel you're going to be listened to, heard, supported? Do you feel they're going to be there for you when you're needed? Are they going to be there for you after they've sold you the training? And finally, how successful are they going to help you to be? And again, I come back to this point about price, because while everybody has their own budget and we don't all have endless money to play with, starting a hypnosis business, any kind of hypno business, while it's a relatively low cost of entry compared to other businesses, like any business, you do have to invest in it properly. You've got to invest in yourself. in your skills to do the work. You've got to do that. But you've also got to invest in building the business. And a big chunk of that needs to be on your branding, your marketing, your awareness, your sales skills, all those kind of things. Because without that, you're going to have a bunch of skills that you're not going to be getting in front of people. So I hope you found that video useful. If you'd like to know more about what we do at Help for Hypnotherapists, you can look us up, www.helpforhypnotherapists.com. You can check us out on Facebook or subscribe to our YouTube channel. So I'm Jonathan Butler. Thanks for listening, and any questions, please feel free to ask them.